Imagine waking up on a totally normal Tuesday morning in, say, 2026. You pour your coffee, you sit down at the kitchen table, and you start scrolling through the morning news on your phone. And right there, top of the feed, another massive company announces a sweeping wave of layoffs. Another entire profession, one that all the career counselors and college advisors swore was absolutely 100% future-proof, suddenly isn't. At first, it just feels like another distant headline. We're used to those, right? Until you keep reading, and you notice something terrifyingly different this time. This time, it's your industry. Let's say you're a senior graphic designer, or a financial auditor, or a logistics manager. You spent a decade building your resume, and suddenly this incredibly uncomfortable, chilling question just starts echoing in your mind. What if AI simply doesn't need me anymore? What if the skills I spent years perfecting are now just a software update? Look, that is the exact question millions of people are quietly asking themselves right now. But here's the brutal truth. Most conversations we're having about AI out there, they are focusing on entirely the wrong things. People are obsessed with asking which jobs will disappear. But the real structural question we need to unpack is far more personal and far more urgent. The question isn't what jobs will exist, but rather, who is actually going to be able to stay employed?
Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving deep into the new math of work and wealth. Grab a notebook because we are going to break down step by step exactly how you can build a financial machine to completely escape the brutal mathematics of our new economy. We'll look at the psychological systems you need, the specific monetary thresholds to aim for, and the hidden mechanics of compounding that allow ordinary people to step right off the treadmill. All right, part one, the brutal labor math. We really have to confront the uncomfortable reality of employment in this new age. To really understand this, we need to completely reframe how we view the job market. In the very near future, you are absolutely not competing against a machine. That's a sci-fi fantasy. You are competing against a single, highly adaptable human who can now do the work of 10 people by effectively supervising AI. I mean, really think about the mechanics of this. Imagine an office where a junior employee previously spent 40 hours a week pulling data, formatting spreadsheets, and writing weekly summary reports. It took up their entire week. Now, an AI model can do literally 80% of that heavy lifting in a matter of seconds. What does that mean for the company's bottom line? It means they absolutely do not need 10 analysts anymore. They only need 4. And here's the kicker. Those remaining 4 aren't necessarily the smartest people in the room, or the ones with the best Ivy League degrees. They are simply the ones who know how to command, prompt, and meticulously verify the AI's output. They are the AI managers. For everyone else who relies on just doing the manual knowledge work, their economic value drops to 0 overnight. It's a fundamental restructuring of what a human being is paid to do.
Let me give you an analogy to make this crystal clear. Think of knowledge work over the last 50 years like a village, where everyone's job is carrying buckets of water from the river to the town. You get paid for how many buckets you carry, right? It's manual, it's exhausting, but it's reliable work. Well, suddenly, someone comes along and invents a high-pressure water pipeline. Now, if AI is that pipeline, completely replacing those manual bucket carriers, the core question for the village isn't whether the pipeline works. We already know it obviously works, the water's flowing. The real question is, how many bucket carriers are still necessary to stay employed? The answer is just a handful. You only need a few people to verify the pressure, maintain the valves, and decide where the water needs to go. The AI pipeline replaces the sheer production of the information, but it absolutely cannot replace the legal and strategic responsibility for it. So if you want to survive this massive, unprecedented economic shift, you have to transition your life strategy. You have to pivot from selling your manual labor to owning capital. You literally have to stop being the bucket carrier who is just waiting to be made obsolete and start owning a piece of the pipeline itself.
So how do we actually do that? That brings us to part 2. Escaping the income trap and shifting away from selling your labor.
Let's talk about a concept in physics and finance called the phase transition. I like to call it the turbocharger effect. If you know anything about how a turbocharger works in a car engine, you know it's a brilliant piece of engineering. It basically takes the waste exhaust gases that the car is already producing and uses them to spin a turbine. That turbine forces compressed air back into the engine, which creates this massive continuous feedback loop of raw power. It's basically free energy. But here is the dirty little secret that mechanics know. A turbocharger absolutely does not work at low RPMs. When you're just idling or driving slowly, there isn't enough exhaust gas to spool up the turbine. So until the engine builds enough internal pressure, you, the driver, are providing all the power manually by stepping on the gas. In investing, this exact same mechanical principle applies. Until your investment account hits a critical mass, usually somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000, you are doing all the heavy lifting through your own sweat and your own monthly deposits. Yes, compounding is technically happening in the background. You're earning a few bucks in dividends, but the exhaust isn't spinning the turbine yet. The machine hasn't woken up.
And the math behind getting to that turbo boost is just staggering. Let's look at this table together. This is based on a very realistic, historical 8% annual return. If you're only putting away $50 a month, look at what happens. Even after 30 long years of consistently saving, your portfolio only hits about $74,000. You literally never reach that $100,000 turbocharger threshold. Never. You spend your entire working life manually powering the engine, exhausting yourself without ever feeling the push of momentum. But look what happens if you can bump that up to $400 a month. Suddenly, you hit the turbo boost around year 14. 14 years. That is the exact moment the math flips on its head, the turbine spools up, and your money starts sprinting entirely on its own. You've crossed the threshold. But getting to that threshold is the hardest part. Let's move to part 3, the phase 1 void, and the immense psychological barriers standing in your way.
The legendary behavioral economist Richard Thaler identified this incredibly fascinating human flaw that he calls the feedback gap. You see, human beings are wired for immediate survival. We only continue doing hard things when we see visible, immediate results. Think about going to the gym. If you work out intensely for 3 days and look in the mirror and don't see a six-pack, your brain literally tells you, hey, this isn't working, let's go eat a pizza. In phase 1 of investing, those first few years before the turbo kicks in, the mathematical reality of compounding works so incredibly slowly that your brain completely misreads the lack of massive growth as evidence that your strategy is broken. And so, what do most people do? They give up. They quit. They panic sell when the market dips on a random Thursday. Or worse, they get bored and start chasing insanely risky day trading schemes or crypto meme coins, hoping for a lottery ticket instead of just sticking to the boring, guaranteed math. They abandoned the ship right when the engine was just starting to gather the fuel it needed.
So, how do you actually survive the agonizing slog of phase 1? I'll tell you right now. You absolutely cannot rely on willpower. Willpower is a depreciating asset. It is completely exhausted by 2 p.m. on a Tuesday after your boss yells at you. Instead, you need to build architecture. Here's the exact 2-account system you need to automate your behavior. Step 1. Your paycheck drops directly into a dedicated bills account. This account holds only your fixed, boring expenses: rent, car insurance, electricity. And critically, this account does not have a debit card attached to it. You cannot physically swipe from it. Step 2. Whatever cash is left over gets automatically funneled into a separate spending account. This is your guilt-free money, but it has a hard limit. When it's gone, it's gone. This system makes overspending structurally, physically impossible. You are entirely removing the temptation and the exhausting mental math from your day-to-day life. Actually, real quick, I want to pause right here. If you're finding this deep dive useful, subscribe to Langford Invests. Every single week, we break down the economic forces quietly reshaping money, work, and wealth, without any of the hype or the fluff. We just focus on the pure mechanics of how you can build a truly free life. So hit that subscribe button, and let's get back to it.
All right, part 4, hacking financial psychology. We need to talk about the toxic cultural habits that are silently robbing you.
Let's say you're starting from absolute zero today. No savings, maybe a little debt. The prospect of investing $400 a month probably sounds like an alien language. If that's you, forget about complicated budgeting spreadsheets. You need to use what I call the manual $10 habit. Here is exactly what you do. Open a brand new zero-balance savings account at a completely different bank. Name it something highly emotional, like the Freedom Fund or My Escape Hatch. And here is the rule. Every single time any income hits your checking account, a paycheck, a birthday check, a side hustle payment, you physically, manually log in and transfer exactly $10 into that new account. Do not automate this step at first. The actual physical act of swiping that money over forces your brain to acknowledge it. It rewires your relationship with cash, creating an immediate psychological feedback loop of success. It completely disrupts that toxic cycle of money arriving and instantly evaporating into the void of daily expenses. You start building the identity of an investor, $10 at a time. Now look at this number on the screen, $600,000. Take a wild guess what this represents.
This staggering figure is what the average American will literally set on fire over their lifetime on car payments, auto loan interest, exorbitant insurance premiums, and rapid vehicular depreciation. This right here is the single biggest leak in the average person's wealth-building engine. It is a psychological trap that is so deep, I refer to it as automotive Stockholm Syndrome. People fall incredibly deeply in love with their financial captor. Think about it. You see people out there sacrificing their future freedom, delaying their retirement by decades, sometimes literally taking out home equity loans, all just to maintain the fleeting social status of driving a shiny, rapidly depreciating truck or a luxury SUV. They will fiercely defend the $900 monthly car payment that is mathematically destroying their family's financial future simply because they have tied their personal ego to a hunk of metal and plastic. Listen to me on this. If you genuinely want to escape the AI labor trap we talked about earlier, you have to completely untether your ego from your driveway. You have to stop trading decades of future freedom for a flex at a stoplight.
So, what happens when you plug that leak? Let's move to part 5. The compounding machine awakens. This is where the math gets genuinely exciting.
Let's say you finally push past all those psychological barriers. You automate your accounts, you drive a normal, affordable car, and you consistently invest just $100 a month. Nothing crazy. Over time, your portfolio transforms from this tiny, fragile little seed into a massive sum of over $637,000. And the absolute beauty of this timeline is looking at what happens by year 40. By that point, this massive wealth is built almost entirely by time itself, not by your physical labor. Think about it. You only contributed $48,000 out of your own pocket over those 4 decades, yet you get to walk away with well over $500,000 of pure, uninterrupted compounded growth. That is the turbine doing the work for you.
And this chart vividly illustrates exactly when that magic crossover point happens. It's usually right around year 15 for most steady investors. Look really closely at the data here on the slide. You are still putting in your regular monthly deposits, sure, but look at the growth bar. Your portfolio is now generating over $20,000 of organic growth in a single year all by itself. That is more than your annual contributions. This is the defining moment. Your money officially starts working harder than you do. It's like you've hired a clone of yourself. Except this financial clone doesn't call in sick, it doesn't complain about the boss, it doesn't take vacations, and it absolutely does not care about AI taking its job. It just sits there 24/7, relentlessly compounding your freedom.
Which brings us to the ultimate paradigm shift, Part 6, the freedom threshold. Redefining what it actually costs to escape the rat race permanently.
For decades, Wall Street and the financial media have been shoving this narrative down your throat that you need $2 million, $3 million, or even $5 million to even think about retiring. But you know what? That is largely a myth. It's a myth intentionally sold by a financial industry that wants to collect management fees on your massive pile of money forever. The truth is, this single number right here, $500,000, if placed in the right financial structure, is absolutely all it takes for a focused, intentional person to become financially immortal.
Let's break down the practical, everyday math of this independence. If you take that $500,000 and put it into a highly conservative 5% fixed income yield, that kicks out $25,000 a year, guaranteed. But if you hold a broad, low-cost index fund that yields a historical market average of around 8.5%, that capital kicks out $42,500 a year. We are talking over $3,500 every single month in totally passive income. Now, if you can live intentionally, if you keep your fixed expenses low, and if you brutally avoid lifestyle inflation, that return completely covers your basic daily life. Food, shelter, utilities, done. And here is the magic trick. Because you are only spending the yield, you never actually drain the tub. You just live off the exhaust, and the principal capital outlasts you. You've essentially created a perpetual motion machine for your own life. But to get to that $500,000 finish line, you have to fundamentally change how you view everyday spending. You have to realize that every single dollar you spend today carries a second, totally invisible price tag. Let's take something simple. Spending $3,000 a year on takeout food and premium coffee. In the present moment, that just costs you $3,000. But that invisible price tag, that represents $800,000 in compounded future freedom that you are voluntarily trading away over a 30-year timeline, all for a temporary dopamine hit in a drive-through lane. Once you truly see and internalize that invisible price tag, making a coffee at home or skipping the restaurant doesn't feel like a depressing sacrifice at all. It feels incredible, because you know you aren't just saving $5, you are literally buying back years of your future freedom.
And that is what this whole explainer has been building towards. Ultimately, financial freedom is not about buying a private jet. It's not about a massive mansion with a circular driveway in the suburbs. Those are just golden handcuffs. True wealth is having piles of options, not piles of stuff. Real wealth is the ability to reclaim your most non-renewable resource, your time. It is the profound ability to step entirely out of a corporate system that treats you like a disposable productivity battery. It's the power to choose to work, or absolutely choose not to work, entirely on your own terms, regardless of what the economy or artificial intelligence is doing.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this. You have a distinct choice to make today. You can just close this out, go back to your routine, and let the brutal math of the modern AI economy slowly run you over. Or you can make the decision to take total control of your financial machine right now, today. Think about 18 years from now. That time, it is going to pass anyway. The clock is ticking whether you invest or not. Will the future version of you look back from a porch somewhere totally financially free and smiling because of the choices you made today? Or will you be sitting at a desk, stressed out, desperately wishing you just started building the machine? The math is sitting right here in front of you. The blueprint is clear. Now, it's time to build the machine.
Thanks for watching. If this gave you a new way to think about your wealth, subscribe to Langford Invests. Leave a comment below with the one savings move you're making this year, and I'll see you in the next one.